Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my buddy Brandon Olmstead and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And later in the show, we barely scratched the surface last week in terms of the trailers that are upcoming for this summer. So it's not as though we're shirking our duties, folks. We're not going to just cram in 15 trailers
honestly,
or something. So,
if you don't like the idea of us having to split them across episodes, write into your local listening station here at 98.1 The Max and tell them to give us extra hours.
There you go.
I'm just saying.
But Brandon, before we get to that, we were talking about something, and this was spurred on by, we're sort of seeing a Harry Potter revival. We are. And we'll get to that too, folks. We know the series is coming up. But Brandon, quietly over there on Audible, not so quietly, actually, it's everywhere. If you don't listen to audiobooks, I think you're missing out on one of the most, I think in the right context, Brandon, I'm just going to say, audiobooks can be the most engaging form of media that there is, if it's well done.
Because in the absence of multiple things to stimulate your senses and everything, it's kind of like the whole blindness thing where it's like your hearing has to be elevated, and if you do it right and everything, then it really creates quite the experience, the whole thing of theater of the mind, and probably the whole reason that we're even on the air today.
Yeah, we're kind of an offshoot of that. I really believe that too.
I can't disagree with that. And I will give you a perfect example. Recently, Jim Butcher's 12 Months, which is the 18th book in the Dresden Files series, came out. I read the book. I enjoyed the book. I know I enjoyed the book. But on listening to the audiobook afterwards, because I've got an Audible account, so I get free credits every month, and I collect audiobooks because I like to go to sleep to them. I realized that there are certain things that didn't resonate enough when I was reading the book, that once you hear it, once it's put into you auditorially, it literally stays in my brain now.
Yeah.
And there are moments in that book that when you're reading it, it comes across a little flat. But when you listen to James Marsters read it to you, it resonates. Like, there's an order of religious, men who are there to help with, in the aftermath of Chicago basically getting decimated, they are getting cursed. And it feels like it feels like a little subplot in the midst of it. But when you listen to the anguish and everything that's through the performance, it sticks in your brain, and you realize just how important that part is.
Yeah.
So the question is should we be reading, if we're reading as opposed to listening, should we read it in a more thematic and way, or without necessarily recoursing to it? Because I think it's sort of a reciprocal relationship. It's like, yes, it's good to listen to audiobooks and get the thematic elements of it, but at the same time, I think it's still good to stimulate our brains via reading it.
I agree with you, Max. I think the problem is that because the world has become so attention deficit, in reality, everything's given to us in small chunks. When we get a book nowadays where we would have sat down and enjoyed reading it, we try to read through it as quickly as possible, and I think we're missing something there. So that once you actually go back and you listen to the audiobook, I think it's a very good symbiotic relationship between the two.
Because when I'm thinking about it is I could sympathize with it, because I used to be the type of person who would read multiple books at once, but nowadays I only really read one at the same time, because now I'm thinking of books as a little bit less of a destination and more of a journey.
Right.
Yeah, and you don't have to rush through it. So, but Brandon, when I think of an audiobook, I think it goes back to the oldest form of storytelling there is. This is akin to people sitting around a campfire and telling story, or your parents telling you a story before you go to bed. And it's like having a story told to you is a completely different experience.
It really is. And I've come to this conclusion. I've got 3 red flag situations in my life. If a dog doesn't like you, then I'm not going to trust you. If you don't like ice cream, and I know enough of lactose intolerant people who still love ice cream. There's something wrong with you. And when it comes down to it,
Max,
if you are unwilling to admit you like to be read to, you have no soul.
I don't know. Okay,
I know it sounds it's more extreme for a fair, but I just one of my greatest things in the world is to have someone read to me or tell me a story.
Here's the thing, and it's okay. So the Harry Potter audiobooks is how I consumed Harry Potter.
Right.
I've only read the books once or twice. I could quote the books because I listened to them so many times on audio.
You can quote the books because Jim Dale put them in your brain.
So,
but let's all be honest. No matter how you feel about the author of those books at present day, when you read those books when they first came out, even if you enjoyed them, they were a slog.
Reading them, I mean, some of those books are really long. They're
Tolkien.
Yeah. But don't even get me started on him.
But here's the thing, Brandon.
27 pages to describe a cloud, 4 to describe a fight scene. What the heck?
Right. But the thing is, with Jim Dale, what made it great is you'd swear you're listening to 50 different people because he impersonated them so well. Well, there's a new thing that Audible is doing, and when I first heard about it, my reaction was like, oh, I know I'm not going to like this. But basically what they're doing is they're having a full cast play all of the characters, and they have a narrator, and they have music, and they have sound effects. I'm like, this sounds like way too much production. But actually, if you go to Audible, you can sample like the first 25 minutes of every book. I got to tell you, man, they're really good.
And the funny thing is it brings what's cool about an audiobook, again, going back to that reciprocal relationship, is I think it brings the words to life and everything. It's like, wait, I found myself when I was listening to it, it's like, did J.K. Rowling really write this?
No.
There's a difference between there's a difference between hearing the words and reading the words and everything. Kind of the difference between listening to Shakespeare in a play versus reading Shakespeare. It's like so much of it there's so much more life to a story when it's recited to me than when I read it myself.
Well, the actors are all in on this, Brandon. I mean, it's really good. Well, it's word for word the books too, which I think is important.
No, I hear you. And what you may not have noticed with Audible is that they have full-on productions that are original stories as well.
Yeah.
And what's funny is watching some of those get wrapped up and turned into actual dramatizations and then aired on things like the Hallmark Channel or Amazon Prime.
Well, when we come back, we're going to continue talking about theater of the mind.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. It's like listening to wizards yodel in parcel tongue. The Geek Patrol is back.
I mean, you try that, Max. It's not easy. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my buddy Brandon Olmstead and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, well, we're talking about one of the, I guess something we don't cover as often as we should, and that is the beauty of audiobooks done well. We've heard some bad ones too, Brandon. But
not everything can be good.
But Audible has a new series. They're basically taking all of the Harry Potter books. So far, they'll have all of them out fairly soon. They have the first 5, and I think in the next few weeks they'll have all of them out. But they basically made a audio drama. They have some big actors in here. Hugh Laurie does a totally different take on Voldemort, and I got to say, I like it so far. But the books have a certain, I don't know what, gravity now, Brandon. Like the death, the Goblet of Fire, especially. That's actually a really creepy story, and you don't like. I do love Jim Dale, but it doesn't sound creepy when he's doing it. This sounds creepy.
It doesn't sound detective-y, and this sounds detective-y and ominous.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, whatever they've hit on, and all the actors are fully committed. And I don't know, Brandon, I've heard Sherlock Holmes audiobooks where they weren't audiobook, they were audio dramas.
Yeah.
But what I didn't like about them is they changed the dialogue, they changed little bits from the book, and for some reason that turned me off. So I think one of the beauties here is it's strictly word for word from the books. And so far, it looks great. Man.
My question is will this also change the way that writers write, where they keep in mind that this could be one day dramatized, and so that makes them a little bit more selective about their words?
Now, it's funny you say that. I didn't think about that, Max, but Brandon, have you ever heard the series of Unfortunate Events audiobooks?
No, I haven't.
With Tim Curry?
I have not. No.
Okay, Max, I know you've heard those.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now that you say that, because I remember as those books were coming out, I almost think he had that in mind, as Lemony Snicket had that in mind as he was writing them, because there's a lot of, I don't know, it sounds like the way Tim Curry would speak and some of the dialogue.
And that's what I kind of liked about that too. It's like, yes, they're super depressing because kids have to deal with their parents being gone and a man on the hunt for them and their fortune. But it's engaging and it's dare I say fun.
Yeah,
even if it's unfortunate. It's
great to listen to on a car drive. But I would say, folks, if you haven't exposed yourself to audiobooks, it's so easy to get now. Just, I mean, is there any other platforms besides Audible, Brandon, that you can?
I don't know. I'm
HBO.
kind of an Audible junkie myself.
Okay.
How about like the Batman audio adventures?
Though you can get that on Spotify, Max. So some of them you can get on Spotify. In fact, there's some pretty good Sherlock Holmes audiobooks. I do love the Jeeves books. Max, you've heard those, right? The old P.G. Woodhouse stuff.
Although they have to, for that, they kind of have to retool some of the language and everything, because let's just say they wouldn't fly with modern audiences.
But hold on. Not to beat this into the ground, but Brandon, that's one of the things I like about that, because if you're listening to a Sherlock Holmes or Jeeves or something, I wouldn't change any of that. You get a slice of life of what it sounded like back in the day. Think of some of the audiobooks they could do with Mary Shelley and things like that, right?
Well, isn't that sort of a slight critique that you have of this Harry Potter adventures? Because there is a slight retooling of some of the language. Because when we were listening to it, you were like, they should have said murder instead.
Well, hang on, Brandon. That's right. I do have a critique because, spoiler, folks, in the Goblet of Fire, when Voldemort
nobody
and
who doesn't know
Wormtail
that story is reading it now.
He said he's telling Wormtail, you got to kill a couple more people, and he was like, in this new version, he said, if I curse, what will happen? And then, but he was supposed to say, if I murder. They edited out the word murder twice. Why did they do that?
Here's the question: Are they running? Are they pulling from the British printing or the American printing? Because there are parts in the actual published books that are different.
Max.
Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Yes, exactly.
They call your shirt like a jumper, or the boot. Maybe that's it, Max. Maybe I'm being overly critical.
But I mean,
maybe that's the British translation.
Well, and here's the thing: is you might be just used to a certain thing, and there may be a few changes here and there. If it's a word and vocabulary that's been made to, also, every so often, you have to change something up a little bit when it comes to how it's perceived, because yes, as much as people may not like it nowadays, content warnings are a genuine thing.
Yeah.
Like I am sure I'm looking at a Jane Austen Pride and Prejudice audiobook with a full cast that includes Glenn Close.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's
big names.
I got a couple over here with Jessica Chastain. It's called The Space Within. She is the main character there, and you got like Mandy Patinkin and Michael Shannon and Bobby Cannavale, and these are like full on dramatizations that are, and some of these are original stories in general.
We were talking about this last week, the idea of the return to the box office. Do you think we're going to see a return to like the Orson Welles days of like audio dramatizations? Because I would like to see the regression back to those sorts of mediums. Because I think these other mediums are getting more stale.
I think that as we become a society that is more hustle than we are flow so much, we are going to see people that are gonna consume more audio entertainment as opposed to sitting down and binge watching a TV show.
I think this is I think if this is a wave of the future, I think that's a great thing.
Because if we go the other direction, we get Wall-E, and nobody needs that.
Yeah. Well, what's great about this is you can do other things while you're listening to it, which is also nice. I mean, you could go for a run, you could go for a walk, you can be driving your car or whatever, and still.
Because it used to be that people did sit down for the radio as opposed to walk while radio.
Yeah.
Well, that's another interesting thing too. Listening to a story in a group setting is sort of unique. Maybe we'll get back to a little of that. I don't know.
I would welcome
Y'all
that
have
a lot.
to be quiet and pay attention, and
Yeah.
So I don't know. All right, but I would say we're going to keep an eye on this. I'll be getting I'll be downloading all of these.
So you could say that the wave of the future is going back to the past.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
I didn't steal it. I made that item. Made it with the magic that I stole.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, well, we've been talking about audiobooks and hopefully the return of audio theater, which I'd be all for it, man. That's one of my favorite forms of entertainment. So
you just like it because you can work while you do it.
Yeah, well, what's wrong with that, man? And
nothing.
It fully engages your brain too. So, but
it's what we call the hustle.
But we can't ignore what's going on in cinema either. So we've got some more trailers to unpack.
It's true. I mean, we couldn't get to all of them last week because, well, somebody stole a bunch of Kit Kats, and that was more important.
Yeah, I wonder if there's going to be any breaking news. Okay,
no. We're leaving that story alone until we have a full ending.
Until the documentary comes out. So
we will review the Netflix
the true crime documentary on the stolen Kit Kat truck.
The Chockumentary.
Yeah. All right. Well, Brandon, what do you want to get to first? I mean, we got a few good ones here in front of us.
Something was mentioned off air by our good buddy Max about kind of like moving from books to audio to going to books to movies with Dune 3. Which,
well, because that's a book.
It's Dune Messiah.
It's Dune Messiah, and apparently marketing thought we were too dumb to realize that.
Because now it's just going to confuse the people that did read the book, because it's like, wait a second, the first two movies was just a book, and now this third and final movie is just another book.
Yeah, it's like, we're, Dune Chapter 1, Dune Chapter 2, Dune Messiah, not Dune Part 3.
Okay.
Because
well, whatever. This is the final one, right?
You talked earlier in the show about how changing of words and things can be irritating.
Yeah.
That one irritates me.
All right. Well, you'll have to struggle on, sir.
No, I will fight Hollywood tooth and nail. It's like the Sonic teeth of the Dune franchise.
But don't give me any spoilers, because the good thing is I don't know anything about. Do you know where this is going, Max?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, don't ruin that.
We
for
are
me,
not going to give you any spoilers. Just like we did our best to avoid spoilers for Dune 2 after you saw the first one and loved it.
What your big question is, why is Jason Momoa there?
Yeah, don't tell. But the thing is, these Dune movies, we're always saying, give us something different. Well, these are different.
Denis Villeneuve has put amazing, love into these movies so far, and I can't wait to see Dune Messiah, which I'm going to continue to call it.
And the thing is what I love about Villanueva's work is it's uniquely his vision, and it's just a feast for the eyes. He knows how to make a scene a moment.
Yeah.
So many times, Max, we see movies that are pretty, but empty, shallow. And then
Avatar.
And then we see movies that are like deep and guttural, and you might as well be watching something in the dark.
And what I like about it too is it carries its pacing well, because there's a director that I really like by the name of Andrei Tarkovsky, and his movies can border on, let's just say, near 3 hours and everything, whether it be 2:45 or 2:30 and everything. But the pacing of these is so well done, even though the sets are simplistic, it doesn't really feel like I'm there for that long at all.
No, they move fast. But, Brandon, the other thing, sometimes it's easy to overlook how good the casting is.
It's true.
I mean, everybody, to me, seems right.
Right. And I think a lot, what we don't give enough credit to across the board is casting agents. We never really talk about them. Back when after watching The Fall Guy, and they talk about how the stuntmen never really get the credit that they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
You start thinking about other people who are, like the lifeblood of making a movie, and how they never, it's like you never see an Oscar for best casting agent, best casting director. That's
a good point, honestly. That's a huge deal.
This is a bit of a random aside, but it makes me think, this minor comment makes me think of the reason that I like this one show called Icons on Earth,
right,
where it talks about the makings of particular films, and the people that they highlight for the majority of the time aren't the cast members. It's the guys that made the SFX or like the production behind it and the corporate people.
Because
the poor guy who makes the models in order to pitch the movie. You know,
the corporate guys were pitching Nicolas Cage to play Aragorn in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Because all they were thinking is that Nicolas Cage is a bankable name.
That would have not been a good fit, in my opinion.
They did the same thing when they cast him as Superman. You know, I mean,
the mullet Superman, yeah. But that's a good point.
I mean, you think about it, and you always have these fan casts out there that are just like, oh, this is ridiculous. This is not. Like most recently, you know, they cast Sophie Turner as Lara Croft in the new Tomb Raider series at Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And you've got people going, why are you getting this person? First of all, Lara Croft is a little British white girl who thinks she's Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And people don't seem to realize the reason she's got a darker skin tone is because she's out in the sun.
Yeah.
Or she's dirty.
Around. Yeah.
It's like,
and you know what I like about this too? There's a difference, I think, between fan casting and scouting and people who come to these things like moths to light and everything. Because it's like, if you make a production that's attractive, the actors are going to want to come to it. It kind of makes me think of all the people that would come to the old 66 Batman because it was just fun. And it's look at the things that Villanueva's universe is attracting. It's like we got Robert Pattinson wanting to come in for something.
Yeah, and again, while you know Dune's one thing, but you know you brought up the 1960s Batman. Think about all the people once Batman the Animated Series kicked off.
Oh yeah,
who wanted to be a part of it. I just want to be a voice here, a random voice there, and then you know, it's kind of the same situation. You know, you had a casting agent who, despite the fact that people were telling her no, that's a bad idea, she brought in Kevin Conroy, and he became the quintessential Batman voice.
Yeah.
Everybody who's done Batman since in animated form has kind of mimicked his voice, except Dietrich Bader, but that's because, well,
I guess the lesson with Dune too is have a vision, stick to it, and go all in. No matter what you do, just go all in. Yeah. So, but
or as Bender would say, the key to it is all artistic integrity.
Yeah. So Dune 3 Messiah looks like it's going to be pretty good. I mean, actually, we haven't seen the action-packed trailer yet, so I'm sure we're going to get another one.
I don't think we need to. I think we just knowing that it's coming out, I think we are already there where we're like, we're going to see it anyway.
Okay, cool.
I just need a date.
All right. Well, we'll continue when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
Surprise, you're dead!
I don't even know what I just heard. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, well, we were celebrating, among other things, audiobooks, and then also touching on a couple I think we're going to be unpacking trailers for the next couple or 3 weeks, Brandon, because we haven't. Well, I haven't been as excited about what's coming out in the theater in the last few years, and I had an insight as to why, Brandon.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Dune. We were just talking about Dune before we came in. We were celebrating the fact that Denis Villeneuve. I can never say his last name.
Denis
Villeneuve. He had a vision for Dune. It was different. It was unique. He bought into the whole thing completely, and so did the actors, so did the cinematographer, everybody, and we're getting something really special. Well, I think when people were talking about this period of, I don't know, superhero fatigue or whatever, I don't think it's that at all. I think what it is if a director and if a movie production cares about what they're doing and they're going to go all in, I'll buy in and I'll follow you on the journey. But I don't like to be at a theater where I'm like, I feel like I care more about this than the director did.
Right.
You know, like with Taika Waititi with Thor and things like that. So right now I feel like we're getting authentic, passionate storytelling.
Honestly, you're right. I think, as much as I hate to admit it, there is so much post-Endgame. And a little bit leading into Endgame, but post-Endgame, it really quickly became like, these are stories that I want to see, but the people making them are just doing. It's like, okay, I have a Marvel movie on my resume, and I got a good paycheck.
You feel that. That's what you felt in Spider-Man 3, where it was like he didn't even want to make it, and you could feel that he
right. When Sony kind of pushed Sam Raimi into doing because
stuff comes across.
Raimi never wanted to do a Venom movie.
Yeah.
He never wanted to use Venom as a villain,
Right.
and they're like, nope, Venom's the people keep asking for Venom, and then we get Topher Grace as Eddie Brock, and it's
Not
again,
a good fit.
not only is it a bad casting, but if Topher Grace and Tobey Maguire had any kind of actual chemistry, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But that's, Max bringing up casting and everything and everything. If you don't have the chemistry, it doesn't matter how much you look the part. It doesn't matter how much you love the character. If you don't have chemistry with your co-stars, it's going to fall off and people are going to notice.
And then not only that, too, if you also don't have a director that's an actor's director, because it's like, remember we were talking about earlier the idea of if you have something attractive, it brings actors to you rather than you seeking them out. Because it's like one of the best modern examples of that recently was the whole Frankenstein movie, because people love Guillermo del Toro's work where it's like, hey, I want to be a part of whatever you're doing again because I loved your experience with fill in the blank movie.
And how many people prior to the movie hitting were talking about how Jacob Elordi, he's not a good actor. He does these rom-com, teenage movies, and he's not the right fit. He's too pretty to be the monster. And it's like he nailed every bit of it because he bought into Del Toro's vision.
With that in mind, there's a movie that I'm actually interested in seeing that by all accounts I shouldn't care less about this movie, but the new He-Man movie. I'm like, okay, I wasn't a fan of the cartoon when I was a kid.
You were about 8 years too old for He-Man.
Right. I missed that window.
My question is how can you make something serious out of something that's intrinsically so goofy? It's like, all right, you have this giant green tiger. How are you going to take this movie seriously?
I don't think you're supposed to. I mean, even from the trailer, while yes, it's a dire battle between good and evil, I think you're just supposed to sit there in awe and giggle at the goofiness of it all.
Well, the first He-Man movie in 1987 had no budget, and you could tell because they spent they were in the town, and there was literally no cars, no people, and this movie looks like it's got a budget.
That didn't stop Frank Langella from nailing Skeletor in every form possible.
Yeah, he
but that's Frank Langella. Nobody could. Yeah.
But this one has, honestly, I think the biggest stumbling block for me is just the name. He-Man was always a stupid name for me.
Or maybe it's intentionally meant to be sort of like maybe because it understands itself well enough to where it's like, hey, it's going to be funny because we're taking this seriously.
Well, I think what's great is that, first of all, it is just straight up going with the name Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
It's, it's about He-Man, but they don't use He-Man in the title. And I think that helps. But it was a 30-minute, toy commercial every week or every weekday, depending on how you saw it, in whether it be syndication or USA Cartoon Express or whatever. And, as a kid, we were just like, yeah, buy me that toy.
Well, that's all it was. It was literally, it started with toys and then became a show.
It was the first. It was the first show made after the FCC lifted that ban on the product. I don't remember what the name it was, but it used to be you had to have some sort of thing. Your toy commercials could only be this amount of time. They had to air during this time. Blah blah blah. They lifted that and they made an entire line of cartoons that were nothing but buy my toy. Well, whether it be G.I. Joe, Transformers, or He-Man. And some of those became serious storylines later on. But He-Man was He-Man.
And you know what's kind of interesting about that? Yes, it's all about a whole marketing ploy. But the funny thing is that by having a show that's about the toys, it almost brings the toys more to life. Again, it's that reciprocal relationship between audiobooks, the audio experience, and going back and reading it yourself.
Absolutely. You brought us full circle again, sir, but... And I want to argue with you, but I can't.
The only people I need to argue with right now is with Lego, because I want to see the next Lego Skeletor.
Oh.
Talk about black market.
Okay, that was the other thing. Jared Leto's playing Skeletor, and I didn't hear him. I mean, what did they do to his voice?
Whatever they did, I think it's a safety net so people forget that that's him.
Okay.
He doesn't look like
He's
him.
He's not Mr. Popular.
Doesn't sound like him, and everything he does lately has bombed tremendously.
Okay. But the thing is, man, I'm feeling, I don't want to be misled here, but man, what we're getting recently feels pretty good.
Yeah.
We've had some pretty good stuff from
and,
Hollywood.
And just wait until you see the new Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah. So it's all is not lost. I wouldn't even be surprised if we see a resurgence in the theater experience in the years ahead.
Well, I mean, when things go the way they are, we may not be able to afford to go to the theater anymore.
Well, we'll see. But anyway, we got to get out of here, you guys. The show is over. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Maximilian.
And I am Brandon Olmsted, hoping you continue to love listening to us in audio form.